Hi, everybody. So I wanted to speak about something important, and it's this need that a human being has for time alone. And in the lifestyles that we live in today, for many different reasons, it's easy to basically be surrounded by people all the time, whether it means that you live with other people, or if it's in family or community, or even that you live in a city where it's very expensive rent, so you have chosen to live with a roommate. So many things in today's society makes us be surrounded of people all the time. And even how we work in offices, often it's like an open landscape thing, so you always have other people's auras and voices in your own aura and environment. And when we look at it from human design and from the gene keys, we can see that we have this need of having time for ourselves, and that many of the insights, epiphanies, regeneration comes from that time alone. And I kind of wanted to look at it from the line perspective. So we know we have 6 lines that we have our activations in. So each gene key or gate, we also have a line, which is the number after the dot. So the most obvious line, and maybe when you watch this, think about your profile. So your profile is the number that's after the dot in your personality sign on Earth, and in your design sign on Earth, human design. And in the hologenetic profile in the gene keys, it is what's after the gene key after the dot in your activation sequence. So you can be, for example, a 1-3 or a 4-6 or a 5-1. Maybe you are one of the less common ones, the 4-1 or the 2-5. So maybe think about that when I speak about the lines. So the most obvious one that needs time alone is the first line. The first line is the line before there were 2. Then the second that comes, it has to do with marriage and mirroring and seeing yourself in the other. But the first line is much more introvert somehow. And it's here to investigate, and it's here to be creative. It's here to be the entrepreneur. It's here to work individually. So it really needs that possibility to go down in the basement, for example, and to work with its own creation and its own investigation. And if you have it on the unconscious side, for example, if you're a 5-1 or a 4-1, it's really your soul, your unconscious, your physical intelligence that needs that time alone in order to get the epiphanies and the insights that your soul and your unconscious wants to give you. So maybe it's more like an inner longing than an outer need for your personality. That, if you're 5-1, it's about impact and power. And if you're a 4th line, it's about community and love and belonging. But it's really still that unconscious side, that inner, that needs time alone in order for you to be fulfilled, in order for your soul to be able to live its journey, has to have its journey here. And this kind of brings us into the 4-1, because 4 is another line that needs to know when to be alone and when to be with others. You know that on the personality side, when we have 4th line, it's the server. So it's people that are here to serve others through their heart, through the 4th chakra, in community, create belonging, be with others. And at the same time, the first line is the foundation line in the first trigram, and the 4th line is the first line in the second trigram. So they are harmonic lines. So what is in the first line, it's kind of also in the 4th line. So we can see that there also is this need for time alone, this need to feel into yourself. And the very important question for a 4th line is, what do I love to do? Because once you do what you love, you're serving yourselves, and through that you're also serving others. For the 4th line, it's really important to first do what you love, and also to feel fulfilled with yourself first. Because as we know in human design, the 4th line is opportunist. So once that you are in a frequency and in an energetic state where you are in sync, and when you're in your natural rhythm, you're going to attract through your network everything that you could ever wish and need. But it comes from being fulfilled first. And this is somehow also leads us into the second line. The second line, we look at it in human design, is the hermit. It's the person that doesn't really want to be called out, and that isn't really interested many times in the other. How we look at it in the gene is a little bit more like the natural, the person who doesn't want to investigate like the first line, who doesn't want to have to do a lot of things, but who kind of just wants to go with flow and with ease and with naturalness. And through that, it's like if you only go through that, there are not so many challenges for you to grow. So relationships are really where the second line grows. And there is also time for the hermit, we could say, is also the time alone where you just go about your thing and you love doing that. We call it a dancer on the personality side. So somebody's just here to go about your inherent talents, and that is gonna regenerate you, nurture you, and then you come out and your challenge is relationships, and the biggest challenge for a second line relationship is how to not expect the other to fulfill you, but really when you're alone by yourself outside of influence from somebody else, you get fulfilled first, and then what you can create in relationship has much more potential of being a reflection or mirror of something beautiful. The third line, I would say, also has a need for not so much for aloneness maybe, but for not having to be forced to be together. So it's here for trial and error. It's here for experience and energy. So when the third line wants to cut and doesn't want to be in relationship anymore or in a situation anymore, it kind of needs to have that ability to cut and say, I'm done, and to have that respected. So that's a kind of aloneness too, this ability to cut and start on a white new sheet. The fifth line is kind of a loner too. In human design, it's on the second floor of the house, and it's not in the window. It's like inside, so you can't really see it. So it goes about its own thing, and since it has this projection field, it also knows that there's a lot of expectations, and the fifth line often feels like it can be burnt at stake for its truth. So it often decides to be kind of a bit also private. So it decides what to share and to have an impact and what it wants to be heard. And then there's this other part that can be very private. And what we say for like 5-1s and 5-2s or even 2-5s, it's really very few people that really know who you are if you have those profiles, because there is that projection field around you. And then we can say something like the sixth line, and the sixth line in the core wound is that it's the core wound of separation. So the sixth line inherently has this feeling of like being alone or being separate, and it takes like a lot of patience, and it can take a whole life basically to come back and to feel that belonging or that inclusion more than anything in the world with other human beings. And we say that it's the line that's on the roof. So it can become the judge and can really like not want to really be with others at all. Kind of, it's more safe to be a bit disincarnate, to be a bit aloof and looking down at a house. And there is a need for aloneness, but not for that. It's not really that kind of aloneness of not wanting to play. It's more the aloneness that brings you back to your own innocence. The aloneness where you nurture your vision of what's possible. And as we know, the sixth line is always looking for the future. It's always looking to the next house. So there is a need for nurturing, especially when it's on the unconscious side, especially when it's on the design side, in the radiance and in the purpose. It's really about nurturing that vision and actually going away from the other lines that go about their own things in different ways to really be able to also make that vision develop and add to it and nurture it. So that is important. And sometimes also there are feelings for the six lines that other lines don't really have, that are from remembering the future, remembering the past, because it's kind of is the new kind of being that has the intent of something new, of a mutation in their cells. So that's also something that sometimes you don't want to be hooked into everything that is going on, but you want to be able to just feel into that kind of mutation that is going on, and also coming back to innocence, so that you then can come back into the world and walk the world where every experience is worth it, instead of judging every experience for not being perfect enough. So with this, what I want to say is really that we all have different ways and different needs when it comes to being alone. But for all human beings to have those stepping back, time for reflection, time for regeneration, time for insights to come, time for our open centers to not be influenced by outer energies, so that we can really kind of clean what's come in, and so we can feel our own alignment with who we truly are. That is something that is so essential for all of us, and kind of just a reminder that aloneness is something very beautiful, and it's not loneliness. Thank you, guys.